Hello, I am Peter Okwacha. Welcome to Focus on Africa. Our top stories. Ethiopia and Egypt at loggerheads over Africa's largest hydroelectric dam. Will be looking at what it means for the vast engineering project and regional relations. A second lecturer from the University of Lagos in Nigeria has been suspended. Samuel Oladipo was caught in a BBC investigation into allegations of sexual harassment. We're live in Lagos. On the loose in Kampala, Ugandan rapper and politician Bobi Wine dodges a police blockade at his home after his concert was cancelled. Also on the program, we travel back in time with a look at the lives of freed African slaves who left England for Sierra Leone more than 200 years ago.
This display is really important because the history of the Krios is really linked to Black British history and not many people know about it.
And in sports, Sierra Leone are told that they will have to play their next home match behind closed doors following disturbances in their World Cup qualifier against Liberia. Thanks for joining us here on Focus on Africa from BBC World News. A row between Egypt and Ethiopia over the damming of the River Nile has escalated after recent talks between the two countries failed to make any progress. Egypt receives over 90% of its fresh water from the Nile, but is worried that the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam will threaten its water supply. It has suggested that Ethiopia release 40 billion cubic meters of water annually and the slow filling of the dam's reservoir. Ethiopia, in turn, has criticized these proposals, describing them as a threat to its sovereignty and the survival of its citizens. The Grand Renaissance Dam will be Africa's largest hydroelectric dam. Construction began in 2011. When it is finished, it will provide an estimated 6,000 megawatts of electricity. The project is expected to be fully operational by 2022, making Ethiopia a net exporter of electricity. So how much will this all cost? Well, at least $4 billion, according to most reports, though the final figure could be much higher. In a moment, we'll get the view from Ethiopia, but first, let's hear from Salih Nabil in Cairo.
Today in Parliament, the Egyptian Prime Minister said that this is a very serious matter. He said that Egypt is already suffering water poverty and that the government is working on projects related to treating and recycling sewage water in addition to water desalination. Over the past couple of years, there have been rounds of talks between Egypt, Ethiopia and Sudan, and there has been an exchange of accusations between Egypt and Ethiopia. The Egyptians say the Ethiopians are quite inflexible, while the Ethiopians say that Egypt is only proposing one-sided strategies. So over the weekend, Egypt has said that both sides have reached a deadlock. So far, we do not know what's going to happen or if they will be back to talks or not. But the thing is, the Minister of Irrigation a couple of weeks ago said that if the Egyptian share of water is reduced by just 2%, nearly 200,000 acres might be destroyed.
Salih Nabil there in Cairo. Well, let's hear from our correspondent Kalkidan Yebeltal, who is in Addis Ababa. Kalkidan, how is the dispute being viewed over there in Ethiopia?
Here in Ethiopia, the Ethiopian government is saying that Egypt is basically being unreasonable in its demands. A couple of weeks ago, there was a press statement by the Ministry of Water, Irrigation and Energy, and he was saying that the demands that Egypt is proposing in recent times is unacceptable to Ethiopia. He said that Egypt proposed two demands, one of which is the annual release of 40 billion metric cubic water when in the initial filling of the dam, which he said that this is unacceptable. And the other one is Egypt also demanded to maintain the high Aswan Dam at 160 meters above sea level, which according to Ethiopia is
We have lost Kalkedan Yebeltal there, but he was speaking to us live from Addis Ababa. So clearly, both countries are struggling to agree on the way forward. So what next? Let's get more on this now from William Davison. He's a senior analyst with the International Crisis Group, joins us from Italy. Why is it so difficult for both countries to budge from their various positions?
Well, I think the issue here is that the dam is a major concern for both countries, as in of great importance to both countries. Ethiopia for its economic potential, because it will generate huge amounts of electricity, and Egypt because it relies on the Nile waters. So this has huge importance for both countries. When we take those two factors into consideration, Ethiopia would like to fill the dam as quickly as possible to generate as much electricity as possible, as quickly as possible, whilst Egypt is obviously concerned about water flows and wants those to be minimized during the dam filling period. So it's very important for both countries, and both countries have different priorities in terms of this filling process.
Indeed, different priorities. So what exactly is the solution, or indeed, is there a solution?
There's no easy solution. We should note that many people, many experts from all countries involved and other countries have been trying for years to reach an agreement. So there's no easy solution. But on a much more positive note, experts, neutral experts, hydrologists, etc., they look at this issue and they can see a way where the dam can be filled in a reasonable amount of time, so Ethiopia can start producing a decent amount of power in a manner that does not cause significant or particularly harmful water losses to Egypt. But that does require there to be average or above average rainfall in the Blue Nile. So it's a tricky political, diplomatic and hydrological issue, but neutral experts do think that there is at least a technical compromise available.
Now, when the Nile leaves Ethiopian territory and before it gets to Egyptian territory, it passes through South Sudan and Sudan. I mean, do any of those two countries have a say in this matter?
Well, the key nation there is Sudan, because the Blue Nile flows through Sudan. Sudan is involved. They've generally been supportive of the Renaissance Dam, but they're somewhat of a quiet third party in these negotiations, and they are largely allowing Egypt and Ethiopia to negotiate this. But generally, to push things forward, I think it would be good to see Ethiopia take full consideration of Egypt's concerns and talk about how they plan to fill and operate the Renaissance Dam in a drought, because I think that's Egypt's biggest concerns. And I think everybody, many observers and participants would like to see Egypt move away from a position where it's deciding its water allocation based on treaties which are now 60 years old.
William, I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. We're running out of time quickly. William Davison there from the International Crisis Group. Thank you very much. Now, a second lecturer from the University of Lagos has been suspended following a BBC Africa Eye investigation into sexual harassment at two top West African universities. Dr. Samuel Oladipo was secretly filmed propositioning an undercover reporter posing as a student. In another development, a bill has been introduced to the Nigerian Senate that seeks to prevent sexual harassment of students. Let's speak to our correspondent in Lagos now, Maini Jones. Maini, first of all, to this lecturer, Dr. Samuel Oladipo, what has the University of Lagos said about him?
So the University of Lagos made an announcement this morning. In a statement, they said that a panel was going to be set up to look into the allegations made in the Africa Eye documentary about Dr. Oladipo, but also about his colleague, Dr. Boniface, who was suspended on Monday. Your viewers might remember that in the Africa Eye documentary, 4 lecturers were highlighted for trying to proposition undercover reporters posing as students, 2 from the University of Ghana and 2 from the University of Lagos. All of them have denied the allegations against them, but they've now all been suspended by the universities, who say that they will carry out their own internal investigations.
And this news later on in the afternoon today that the Nigerian parliament has retabled this bill to make sexual harassment of students illegal in the country.
Yeah, so this bill, they'd actually tried to pass it in 2016. It got through the Senate, but in order for a bill to become law in Nigeria, it needs to be approved by the Senate, but also by the House of Representatives. And they were unable to get it through the House of Representatives at the time, and it was shelved. And now the Deputy President of the Senate said that he is now bringing a new bill forward, addressing some of the issues last time, including the issue that some NGOs felt that lecturers would be able to say that students had consented to the relationship as a way of getting out of being prosecuted. This new bill does not allow for that excuse to be used by any lecturers who are found guilty of carrying out sexual harassment against students. So he introduced it, read it out for the first time this morning. It has to be said that this is only the first process of a 6-step long process to get this passed through the Senate, and then this whole thing needs to happen again at the House of Representatives. But he says that he hopes that the momentum and the interest that's been generated by the BBC documentary will help get this bill forward this time round.
Mayeni Jones, live in Lagos. Thank you very much. Ugandan pop star and politician Bobi Wine, whose real name is Robert Changulani, has managed to dodge a police blockade of his home today and led a motorcycle convoy on the streets of Kampala. Authorities had earlier cancelled a concert he had set up near the capital Kampala, saying organizers had failed to heed minimum security standards. It was to coincide with today's National Independence Day celebrations. Our reporter in Kampala, Patience Atuaire, has more.
Bobi Wine says that over 150 of his concerts have been blocked since 2017. He says that this time round, the police informed him that they did not have enough manpower to secure the concert venue, and yet they went ahead to deploy very heavily at his home and at the concert venue. He says that the government is doing all of this out of fear.
All this is done because President Museveni is very scared of the ideas that we represent. He believes by blocking us from communicating, by stopping us from enjoying our rights, he's going to disempower us, he's going to demotivate us.
Even with the police deployment at his home, the politician and singer managed to sneak out, and he appeared for a few minutes in the center of Kampala. He said that he did this to prove to the government that they cannot keep him under siege. It is a strategy that the police refers to as preventive arrest. They have used it on numerous opposition politicians several times to prevent them from carrying out their political activities. Patience Atuaire, BBC News, Kampala.
This is Focus on Africa from BBC World News with me, Peter Okwoche. Still to come on the program, Eliud Kipchoge touches down in Vienna ahead of his second attempt to run a sub-2-hour marathon this weekend. Welcome back. I'm Peter Okwoche. Now to a movie which is having its world premiere tonight at the London Film Festival. It's called Walking with Shadows and is an adaptation of a book of the same title by Nigerian novelist Jude Dibia. Staged in Lagos, it tells the tale of Ebele Njoku, a seemingly happily married man with a young child whose past is revealed to his wife in an anonymous phone call claiming that Ebele is gay. Well, I spoke to Ozzy Ago, who plays the male lead, the producer Fumi Iyonda, and the film's Irish director Ifa Okele. I started by asking the producer why they decided to make the film.
Before I met you, Ada,
it's all lies. Isn't it, Adrian?
there's some truth in it.
If your personal life is affecting your work and your colleagues.
This is dealing with a big subject in a very quiet, compassionate way. I feel that a lot of people will see themselves in that film. And so I don't think that it's necessarily a film about sexuality. It's a film about identity. And that's why I say over and over again to people that, you know, I like for people to watch it themselves. You see your character in different stages of his life, you know, and different stages of his relationship with, you know, just people, everyday people. You know, the character's father, when he's a young boy, wants him to play football, senses that there's something wrong with his son.
Yes, there's a saying, you can only give what you have, and sometimes in my personal life and from friends as well, we've had these sort of conversations where we've experienced something growing up, and we come to forgive our parents because they were doing the best that they could at the time. But this generation, we're hoping that we don't make those kinds of mistakes that inflict trauma on people. So that's part of why I was drawn to the film, and we're hoping, we learn from the mistakes of our forefathers.
In your first time of going to Nigeria, I mean, what did you make of them, if you met them, the Nigerian gay community?
So my experience in Nigeria, it was actually quite exciting to meet so many fellow filmmakers in a way, because Nollywood, which I kind of got introduced to in a big way over there, I think that filmmaking is quite a universal love, and we're all very much bonded in our kind of passion for that, and the way we want to tell our stories through this visual medium was something we all actually bonded over quite a lot.
I think, there's confusion. I think that oftentimes I find it really confusing when I see what Nigeria is, not all of Africa, but Nigeria I can speak for, because I don't remember this much homophobia growing up. We knew people who we could tell were gay, and we didn't treat them with overt, hatred in the ways in which they're getting now. I suspect that a lot of that is linked to the economic realities of the people.
And it premieres tonight here in the UK. After tonight, where next?
Nigeria! Yes! Nigeria! Okay, to Lagos!
Okay. Anyway, guys, congratulations. Really great talking to you, and I wish you guys all the best.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great, guys. You're watching BBC Focus on Africa. It's now time for some sport. A great lady in the house, Mimi.
Thank you, Peter, and a great man as well. Now, Sierra Leone have been ordered by FIFA to play their next official match behind closed doors following a number of incidents linked to the 2022 World Cup qualifier against Liberia last month. In a statement, FIFA said it found Sierra Leone's Football Association guilty of breaching its security code after incidents including the invasion of the field of play, the throwing of objects, and a lack of order or discipline observed in and around the stadium. The FA has also been fined $50,000 following the preliminary first round return leg. Zamalek President Mortada Mansour has criticized the Confederation of African Football's decision to order a replay of the second leg of their Champions League first-round match against Generation Foot of Senegal for later this month. The Egyptian side were initially awarded a 3-0 victory after Generation did not show up for the game. They were unhappy of the decision to change the venue just 24 hours before kickoff, but both sides will be included in the draw of the group stages of the Champions League, which is currently taking place in Cairo. Now, Sao Tome and Principe have taken a huge step towards the group phase of the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers with a 3-1 victory away to Mauritius in the first leg of their preliminary round match today. South Sudan also with a 2-1 win with Seychelles at home. Djibouti are currently playing against Gambia. Now, Chelsea defender Fikayo Tomori says he's committed to England after considering which country to represent. The 21-year-old was born in Canada and played for the under-20s team and is also eligible to play for Nigeria. Tomori says that receiving his first England call-up for the Euro 2020 qualifiers away to Czech Republic and Bulgaria was unexpected.
Yeah, I think the call-up kind of solidifies that. Obviously being eligible to play for 3 countries was, I guess, depending on where you look at it, a good thing and a bad thing. I wasn't really, as I said, expecting at the beginning of the season to make the England squad or whatever. I was just kind of taking everything as it's come and getting the call up to England. Once I got that call up, there wasn't really a doubt in my mind that I was going to commit. So, being here now, I just want to try and get my first cap and then try and get more after that as well.
And finally to athletics, where Kenya's Eliud Kipchoge arrived in Vienna on Tuesday morning to get ready for his second attempt to become the first person in history to run the marathon distance in less than 2 hours. Kipchoge's challenge will take place this Saturday in the Austrian capital. His first attempt took place in May 2017, where he finished just 26 seconds short.
Yes, I'm excited to be here. I'm really looking forward to make history. Yes, I'm ready. And yes, training has been really successful. I enjoyed the whole part of the training. Yeah, it's totally different. It's about making history and telling the whole world that no human is limited. It's not about competition. Feelings in the body, you know, and you need that pressure also to perform. I mean, when there's no pressure, you feel like, pressure makes things happen.
No pressure at all. Peter, do you think he can do it?
Well, we're all rooting for him, hopefully.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, then. Now, if you don't know Usa you they go, no Usa you come out. I nailed that. That's a proverb from the Creole people in Sierra Leone, which in English translates as, if you don't know where you are going, at least know where you're coming from. It has a prominent place on the walls of a new exhibition called The Krios of Sierra Leone at the Museum of London. It tells the story of their unique link to the UK. Lisa Marie Mischak went to take a look.
Historical documents, religious books, paintings and clothing. These are some of the items on display to help tell the Krios' history from past to present. The Krios are descendants of freed African American, West Indian and liberated African slaves who arrived in Sierra Leone between the late 18th and 19th century. Many enslaved Africans fought on the side of the British during the American Civil War with the promise of freedom. After the war ended, hundreds travelled to London to live.
1787, people started to notice a lot more black people in London, and many of them were destitute because they'd come over after the American War of Independence and they weren't given the charitable support that they expected. A committee was then set up to help them, but they soon realised there were so many that not a lot could be done in London. So this committee decided that these people could be resettled in Sierra Leone.
The first settlement of over 400 people arrived by ship that set sail from the south coast of England to what was hailed as the Province of Freedom in Sierra Leone, which is now the capital named Freetown.
This dress symbolises the thread that weaves together Creole history with England. It's called a caboslot, and it's a combination of a 19th century Victorian dress with adaptations from freed African slaves, Jamaican Maroons, and Nova Scotians who settled in Sierra Leone.
Iyamide Thomas is a historical researcher who donated some of the artefacts. She pitched the idea of the display to the museum as she believed the connection between the two countries needed more recognition.
This display is really important because the history of the Creoles is really linked to Black British history, and not many people know about it. They were taken to the Province of Freedom, but then it stops there. So this tells you, the legacy of slavery, really.
Over 80% of Sierra Leoneans speak the Creole language in the country, but only 2% of the population are of Creole heritage. The exhibits will be on display for a year with the aim to attract as many people as possible to help learn more about the origins of the first resettled freed Africans who became the Creoles. Lisa Marie Mischak, BBC News.
That looks brilliant, and you can see more pictures from the gallery on our website. Just go to bbc.com/Africa. Now, don't forget, you can get in touch with me and some of the team on social media. I'm at Okwoche. But for now, from Focus on Africa, me, Peter Okwoche, and the rest of the team, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and see you again very soon. Goodbye.